You wake up tomorrow with a cold, undeniable realization. The life you're living doesn't actually belong to you. The decisions you defend, the beliefs you argue for, even the goals you chase, none of them began in your depths. They were installed, conditioned, quietly shaped by expectation, approval, fear. How much of you is real, and how much is a performance designed to survive? Most people never ask that question. They move through life wearing a mask so long they forget it's a mask. Carl Jung called it the persona. It's the face you present to the world. The polished version. The acceptable version. The version that earns approval. It works. It helps you function. But the longer you identify with it, the further you drift from who you actually are. And then there's the shadow. If the persona is what you show, the shadow is what you bury. The traits you were told were too much. The emotions that made others uncomfortable. The desires you hid to avoid rejection. They don't disappear. They go underground. And from there, they influence everything. Ever notice how certain people trigger you instantly? That intense irritation? Jung believed that what disturbs us in others often mirrors what we refuse to see in ourselves. The shadow doesn't vanish. It projects. Here's the twist most people never hear. The shadow isn't your enemy. It's your missing power. Jung's core insight was simple but brutal. Growth doesn't come from eliminating the dark. It comes from integrating it, looking directly at what you've denied, owning it, learning from it. That's where real strength begins. But almost no one goes there. Why? Because it's uncomfortable. Silence is uncomfortable. That's why we fill every second with noise, work, scrolling, distraction, anything, to avoid sitting alone with our thoughts. Yet the unconscious keeps speaking, through anxiety, through repeated mistakes, through the same patterns in relationships, through that persistent feeling that something is off. Take fear of rejection. It drives more lives than ambition ever will. People shrink themselves to avoid disapproval. They censor their opinions. They trade authenticity for acceptance. But where did that fear begin? Usually not yesterday. It started years ago. A moment of feeling unseen, criticized, not enough. That wound becomes a shadow fragment. And until you face it, it runs you from behind the scenes. The moment you confront it, something shifts. The fear loses its grip. You stop living for applause. You start choosing from alignment. That process is what Jung called individuation, not becoming someone new, becoming whole. And beneath it all are deeper forces, archetypes, ancient, psychological patterns embedded in the human psyche. The hero, the shadow, the inner masculine and feminine energies Jung described as anima and animus. These aren't myths. They are living structures inside you. The hero in you wants growth, expansion, purpose, but every hero meets resistance. That resistance is the shadow. Doubt, self-sabotage, the urge to stay small. Most people try to silence it. Jung said integrate it. Even your self-doubt carries information. Hidden inside it might be caution, depth, self-awareness. When you stop labeling your struggles as weaknesses and start seeing them as messages, your entire internal world reorganizes. Then comes the most unsettling realization of all. The self you think you are isn't fixed. It feels solid, stable, defined. But Jung understood something radical. The true self is larger than the ego. The ego creates boundaries. This is me. That is not. It protects, but it also limits. You are not a static identity moving through time. You are an evolving consciousness. The moment you loosen your grip on who you think you are, new possibilities open. So how do you begin? Face the unknown instead of avoiding it. Release rigid labels. Listen to your dreams, instincts, patterns, and accept that this is not a destination. It's an unfolding. Here's the truth. You were never lost. You were fragmented, and now you have a choice. Continue living as the mask, or integrate the shadow, transcend the ego and become whole. Life does not begin until you find yourself. The question is whether you're ready to look. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.